this fall camp versus last year?
Just about everything, honestly. You got some familiar faces around, some coaches, some players, but for the most part, there's a lot of new guys, and that's a good thing. And I think the guys that Coach Freeze has brought in are his caliber guys. They're high character guys, they're like-minded guys, and so you have more of the same people around, I would say, which has been great. It's been easy to work with, and then obviously there's more talent out there as well. So it's been really fun working these past few months, and obviously right now is the team that we have, and so this is who we're going with.
Saturday scrimmage, you guys got to work in front of everybody. What do you think you still need to work on, and what do you guys doing best?
Yeah, it's tough going out there and scrimmaging like that. You want to compare it to a game, but at the same time, it's not. We're thudding most of that day on the scrimmage, so you never really know how many yards you're gaining when you're thudding. You fall forward for an extra 3 or 4 sometimes. So you try to keep that in mind when you're watching the film. Offensively, we were frustrated to walk off the field with how the day went. It was one of our not as good days of camp, I would say. But then you go back and watch the film, and like they say, it's never as good, it's never as bad as you think. So just some detailed stuff on Saturday that was getting us. But like I said, we weren't game planning for the scrimmage. We weren't game planning for our defense really. So it's different than an actual game. You have to remember that. Some plays were out there were the first time I ran those plays. It was like a practice. And so you keep that in mind. But some guys showed some good flashes, obviously, and I thought the defense did a lot of good things too.
You mentioned some guys who showed some flashes. Malcolm Simmons had a lot of attention after Saturday. What can you say about what makes him special?
Yeah, well, first thing that starts with him is his speed. He can fly, and that's obviously shown in his track speed, and then his jumping ability. So I think his Instagram is like Freak something, and that lives up to the name. He's a freak. But you look out there, and we got a lot of guys like that. We got a lot of guys that can run in that room, and then we got a lot of guys that have shake in that room too, and can run, and that's a rare combo. And so, as a whole, our receiver room is obviously, like you guys know, a lot different than it was last year. And so, a guy like Malcolm had a good day Saturday, and other guys have shown up consistently throughout camp as well, having good days.
You mentioned during media days how, kind of with all the new receivers, like those have some during the offense and how important those were. How have you seen that, I guess, kind of pay dividends so far through fall camp, and how has it been like, practicing now with all those guys?
Yeah, obviously you spend a lot of time in the summer with those guys. Perry and Malcolm, the two guys that showed up in the summer, so it's harder to. They're a little bit behind in that aspect because they just didn't have the time that the other guys had. So trying to catch up those guys as fast as possible. But guys like Cam, he's a different type of receiver. Like you throw him different kind of balls. You don't necessarily have to do things the same way as you do with a guy who might be 5'11", 6 foot, and can't jump and touch the ceiling right here. So Cam, you throw him different balls and let him go play, let him go be him. And then other guys, you work with different things and ball placement, and then also timing. Like there's some routes where you got to bend this off at a certain angle, and it's not always the same angle. So let's get on the same page with that stuff and hitting the guy, in the head with the ball, and then catch and run. So it's been good.
Yeah, I know you're on the other side of the ball for Coach Durkin, but when you guys go team, what do you admire about the way that he coaches that unit up, and what have been your takeaways getting to know him?
The energy that he brings is like, you can tell with the way our defense practices every single day that there is a whole new energy. Not that our defense last year didn't have energy. Our defense played well last year, I thought, and we got a lot of good players over there. But I think we got a lot of good players again this year, and so that's a positive. But I might have mentioned this at media day. I think someone told me on the defense that if you don't celebrate, it gets counted as a loaf, and I think that's awesome. And so everybody on the sideline is always up. They don't have a day where they don't have juice, and so obviously that comes from the guy who's in control of them, and that's Coach Dirk, and then the other coaches are obviously enforcing it, and then the leaders on that side of the ball are doing that. And then also it's an everybody thing. You have to make that decision that I'm going to show up with some juice, and a lot of times you got to fake it till you make it. With certain guys, you might be having a bad day, and you might not be excited, but you get a loaf if you don't move around. So you better get your butt moving. So that's been great to see. It's been great to practice against, honestly.
What happens if you get too many loaves? Is there a punishment?
Probably. I'm not sure. I'm not, like you said, not on that side of the ball, but I'd have to ask more guys.
What about Kerry Thompson? Can you explain how he's developing since he came in the summer?
Yeah, he's cleaned up some things in the summer that that just in the first few 7-on-7s you saw, and it was like, okay, that's, you know, a young receiver, and that's just because he is. You know, he came right out of high school, and a lot of things that he was doing, you can get away with in high school because you're just that much more athletic than everybody. And obviously, he is another freak. You know, he weighs 220 pounds as a freshman and can run. And so, I saw him getting cleaned up in like 2 or 3 weeks, honestly, and they're not really easy things to like break the habit of. And so he obviously worked at it and did a really good job. And so he is quickly materializing into a guy that will be able to help us this year.
How nice is it to have the brain of Ken Austin in the room with you?
Oh, really nice. We were going over some stuff today that was just really refreshing to be going over, and it's just next level stuff. You know, that you can sit down and break down a defense, and the detail that we go into is going to be awesome. And so, for me, you know, that's huge for me. Obviously, now that I'm a veteran guy and I've been around for quite a while now in the college game, and so being able to take it to that next level as a unit, as in me and Coach Austin be on the same page, me and Coach Freeze be on the exact same page what we're seeing. When we do game plan a team, like I was talking earlier, I feel like we're really going to be locked in on what we're looking at and locked in on what our plan is for that team.
How has Sam been as a teammate again?
Oh, he's been awesome. I freaking love that guy. He's one of the best people that I've ever met, and he works his butt off. He had a really good day today at practice, and it's crazy watching him. You know, he's in a whole different, you know, area, just like the freshmen are in a different area of they're brand new. Well, you know, he's brand new to receiver. He hasn't played receiver in like 5 years, and so seeing the progress that he's made just over the last few months is crazy. You know, he's already a really, really good athlete. Another guy you can put in the freak category for sure. And the way that some of the stuff that he can do, and you know, he's a guy that's going to just keep taking strides because it's still new to him, and I think he's really getting the hang of it and having a lot of fun.
Can you take us through the receiver, the tight end room a little bit? You have Valdo, Brandon, Luke, Mike, all looking like they can contribute.
Absolutely. Obviously, start with Valdo. I'm pretty sure he was All SEC last year, I think, and a really talented guy. You know, obviously put together. He can run as well for a tight end, and he's got probably the strongest hands I've ever seen, honestly. So you just give him a chance, and there's a good chance that he's going to come down with you. So he's been great, and he's progressing still and getting better, and he's had stuff that he wants to work on. I think he's doing a good job with that. And then you go to you know, Big Frage. He's a talented guy too. He's a Division I basketball player, you know, back in the day, and so he's a guy who can do a lot of things, and he's underrated as a pass catcher. Honestly, he's really good getting open, and then also when the ball's thrown to him, he comes down with that thing, and he's proven that over practice and games. And then Luke is obviously a captain from last year who brings different things to the table. Really good in the run game. He can catch balls if he needs to, and is a leader of that room. And then, like you said, Micah's getting older as he goes, and I know he's working on things as well, and showing up on the field.
Having Rivaldo back, especially when he was you guys' leading receiver last year, how much does that help you when, you know, you've got so many pieces coming in, having, you know, your tight end who, you know, you're more familiar with?
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things. You look last year, it's almost like what can you learn from last year and what can you take from the positive last year. And I guess I never threw to the tight end as much as I did last year, so it's building my part, or a part of my game that I didn't do before, I guess. And so we'll carry that over into this year, and you have confidence throwing to a guy like that. And then also now, you know, they can't double team him anymore. I think he said that the other day. There were times we get in the red zone, they cloud coverage to him, so he knew we were throwing stop route, go route to him. And if they do that this year, now they're going to be light elsewhere, whether it's in the box or to the field. And so don't think they're going to be able to do that this year, which is good. And it'll open up more of our passing game, having more talent out there.
You mentioned that's the most. You said it's the most you've thrown to your tight end before. How much does, you know, having somebody like that open up the offense, and how much easier, I guess, does it make your job?
You know, it's just another good skill player. Obviously, he's a mid-skill, we call it, but you know, having a tight end that can work on linebackers is huge. As the game changes, you got more and more athletes playing linebacker, more guys that can run really well at linebacker, so it's not as much of an advantage as I guess it used to be back in the day, but it still is. You know, if you have a good tight end, you should be the linebacker, you know, 7-8 times out of 10. And I think Valdo can do that for sure. And so it allows you to have getting spread formations and let your tight end go to work sometimes. So it definitely helps.
Peyton, one of the things we heard from Coach Austin was your complete command of the offense, and you talked a little bit about checking at the line and things like that. How much do you expect to do of that this year compared to last year, being able to adjust on the fly?
quite a bit more, honestly. Last year was obviously, like I said before, a unique situation. It was weird, and there was a lot of things that were out of my control, and that was one of them. But now, with us all being on the same page about what we're doing, and we're still materializing some of that stuff, and we're still working through the specifics of certain things. But from a week-to-week basis, I think that, like Coach said, I feel really good with where we're at right now, and I feel like I have a really good understanding of what Coach Freeze is trying to do, Coach Nix is trying to do, and what Coach Austin sees. And so, if we're on the same page and we're seeing things the same, Coach is going to have confidence in me to be able to change things up if I need to, and because that's what he would do, if he was there. So it's been great. It's been really fun, and it's a part of my game that I didn't get to use last year, like you said, very much at all. And I think that we're going to be able to have that as a weapon this year.
Sometimes quarterbacks are only as good as their supporting cast. You don't ever want to say that when things aren't going great, but do you feel better about everything you got around you, your playmakers, your blockers, everything?
Yeah.
Maybe just because you've been together for a year.
Yeah, no question about that. I feel like you look at just about any quarterback in this game, people say it's an ultimate team game, and it really is. It's tough. You've seen great quarterbacks in the NFL. If stuff starts to break down around them, they're still good, but they're not the same as they are when they have all their pieces. And so it's definitely a tough situation sometimes. You just have to deal with what you got at times. But like you said, I feel really good with where we're at right now. And like I said before, we still have young guys. We still have 4 freshmen who are potentially going to play for us. That's not exactly one, common, and 2, at the end of the day, they're still young. You can't go out there and expect them to be these seasoned veteran receivers who know everything. There's still going to be some times where you're like, man, what the heck? But yeah, you remind yourself, hey, this kid was playing high school ball last year. So, Cam has had 1 or 2 times like that, not many, honestly, but having him in the spring has really helped develop him. But yeah, at the end of the day, when you have guys around you that can make plays and sometimes turn a 5-yard gain into 20, that helps a lot.
Payton, talking to your coaches today and maybe after the scrimmage, what are the focuses right now in terms of moving forward in fall camp?
Yeah, like I said before, just getting these details together. I feel like we're really on a good track. It's not like we're out here scrambling like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Is this and this and this? It's just little things. Coach might see something that we think we can tweak to make it a little bit better than it already is, and we'll go ahead and do that. And get on the same page, like I said, communicate that to the receivers, to the tight ends, and up front, and make sure everybody is seeing it the same, and then move forward, and then get reps at it. So. Little things like operation things, getting the ball in, ball handling in terms of ball carriers and how that's going to look, tempo, and different things we're doing with that. So just little things. And then Coach Freeze obviously has quite the playbook. So getting his little wrinkles all in there and all ironed out is always fun.
He mentioned last week you guys only had a couple days left of install. Have you guys finished install with the playbook yet?
I don't think so. The last couple of days we've kind of haven't really put much into. I'm kind of trying to bang out the things that we've had in, and like I said, get everybody knowing exactly what we're doing on that, and make sure there's no indecision on that. And I'm sure we'll put in a couple more things here in the next couple of days. I think we have 5 more days of true camp left, and then unfortunately school starts.
You've had some pretty good teammates at running back in your college career. What makes Jarquez a special back, and what's different about him?
I would say number 1 is his strength. He's a really solid human. He's tough to move, and he's got good balance too. I've seen different times where he has good contact balance. He gets hit in an awkward position and he stays up. So I'd say his strength, and then his mindset. He's turns into a madman sometimes, which is what you need. And I think he does that. And he has the ability to catch the ball too, and then obviously just go get dirty yards sometimes.
Throughout the offseason and now going into the season, how much do you look at last year and maybe look at the tape and say, okay, this is where we can improve, or how much of it, Coach Freeze talked to Week 2 ago saying, I don't want to think about last year, I want to talk about last year, or how much of it is looking at last year and saying, okay, these are specific things we want to improve on, how much of it is, we're moving on, we want to kind of start fresh.
Yeah, I haven't looked at hardly any last year because I look at it and I see what our play calls were and all that and the terminology, and makes me not feel good. I don't want to hear those words anymore. And so, I've ditched that. I looked way back in January, February. Maybe I watched just myself. But I'm not looking at any of our play calls. The offense is very much different than what we did last year. This is stuff that coach has put in, that Coach Nix has put in, that I've done before, that I believe in too, and I know our other coaches do as well. So I really don't look at much of last year. And obviously our personnel is a ton different too.
You mentioned Cam being a guy who you can throw a different ball to. We've seen a lot of his highlights. We've seen a lot of him at practice. What is, off the top of your head, maybe the single craziest catch you've seen him make in practice?
It probably wasn't practice. It was probably thrown in the summer a couple of times. Just watching the way he jumps. I called my friend Jaden with the Packers, and we were watching some of his practice highlights from camp, and we were just talking just like a week ago. And I told him, I said, man, this guy, I think he can jump higher than Keon Coleman. And he's like, no, he can't. No, he can't jump higher. I said, man, I think he can. I'm pretty sure he can. And so I honestly, I've never seen somebody jump as high as he jumps in football, and it's honestly like majestic, as strange as that may sound. But there's not many guys that can do what he does.
What kind of comparisons can you make to Keon, I guess, different, because Keon at Michigan State, I think maybe was a guy who took a year to maybe get going with things. How would you kind of compare their skill sets a little bit?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. Cam is probably faster than Keon was. Keon's not slow by any means, but Cam can go. And so they're similar heights. Keon was a little bit bigger than Cam, not that Cam's small at all. I think he weighs like 195 or something like that. But they're very similar. And I think Cam has looked at Keon at times. I've talked to him about it and seen and kind of studied him a little bit, the things that he's done. But they're both, like I said, similar receivers in their stature and the way they play. And Keon had an elite mindset, and I think Cam does too. And so it's going to be fun playing with Cam to see what he's got.